Welcome to the last video of Section 4, Persistence Query. In the previous video, we've discussed persistence FSM and implemented a count actor as a persistent and FSM actor. In this video, we will take a look at CQRS pattern and what is the difference between it and the CRUD system. Then we will discuss persistence query. Finally, we will implement the view to read a count transaction. First, let's express the CQRS pattern quickly. CQRS stands for Command Query Responsibility Segregation. The main idea behind CQRS is the separation between read and write operations. This mainly separates CQRS from the CRUD system, which handles the read and write operations in one place, whereas CQRS has two models. One of them is responsible for read operations, and another one is responsible for write operations. Now, let's start working with persistence query. The most typical use case of persistence query is implementing the read side in CQRS. Assume that our persistent actor has a write side which handles write commands and persists them on the journal. So when we start implementing the read side, we'll need something like a persistence query, which can read the persistent events from a journal. Akka persistence query itself is not directly the query side of an application. However, it can help to migrate data from the write side to the query side database. This means a persistence query is not your query logic for your application. It gives you access to read the persist events from the journal. Akka persistence query doesn't provide actual implementations for reading the journal. It defines a number of predefined query types for the most common query scenarios that most journals are likely to implement. However, they are not required to, which means you should check queries that are supported on your journal plugin. Let's check out some predefined queries. All persistence IDs type is designed to allow user to subscribe to a stream of all persistence IDs in the system. This means you can read all persist events in the system. Current persistent IDs is designed to read the current persist events and any new event you haven't received. Events by persistence ID is equivalent to replying a persistent actor. This means you can read events from a specific persistent actor and keep watching it. Current events by persistence ID reads the current events on the journal. Event by tag allows querying events regardless of which persistence ID they are associated with. The goal of this query is to allow querying for all events which are tagged with a specific tag. Current event by tag queries the current events. Now, let's implement a quick example. We will implement the view for our previous persistent actor. Let's read a persist event from our account handler persistent actor. I know the code is not familiar currently, but trust me, we will discuss all these lines when we cover Akka streams. First, we'll define our read journal, and we will use level DB read journal. Now, let's read our events. We will use events by persistence ID query that takes persistence ID for our actor. Finally, we'll print our events. Let's run this. Great! These are our events. You can check persistence query documentation from here, and persistence query level DB from here. We've reached the end of this section, where we discussed what Akka persistence is and how we can implement a persistent actor. We played with recovery and snapshots on the persistence actor. Next, we mixed persistent actor with FSM to replace the actor behavior. And finally, we implemented a new experimental feature of Akka 2.4, persistence query. See you in the next section, on the next stopover in our trip with Akka, Akka Cluster.